get my chat up. Get my chat going. There we are. Welcome to live chat. Okay. All right, I can put that right there. All right. It's time for another night. It's a lime comparison to electric boogaloo. I don't know. We're going to compare two colored pencils again. Last time it was the Crayola, which produced this lovely lime here. Yes, I used a gel pen with it too to give it that extra juicy look. And then I compared that to the Shuttle Art, which produced this lovely lime. Also nice and juicy looking. And then I put them both on Facebook and had people guess, and about half the people guessed right and about half the people guessed wrong as far as which one was which. That was kind of interesting. So we'll see how they do tomorrow when I post pictures of these that I do tonight and see if people get them. So what I've already done is trace the drawing on here and then erased most of it, as you can see. I don't want those pencil lines showing up through the colored pencil, so there's a couple of places where it could even be a little lighter. I can barely see them, but I don't really need to be able to see these lines too well now that this is the third time I've done the same drawing. So I guess I'm going to go ahead and start. Well, I kind of want to compare the two, so I almost think I should do the Prismacolors first. So I will say this: the Prismacolors are about around $120 for 150 pencils, and they're my favorites, other than the Caran d'Ache Luminance. Those and the Prismacolors are my two favorite pencils. The Prismacolors are, for the most part, very buttery soft and blend together really nicely. Manufacturing on the Prismacolors can be hit or miss, which kind of sucks for $120, but it is what it is. But in general, they work really well. They're amazing. The other ones are Arteza, which I've read and seen other reviews that say they're a pretty good dupe for the Prismacolors. Only they're $60 for 120 pencils. So about half the price for a few less pencils, 30 less, which I guess 30 less pencils is pretty significant, but still $60, it's not the cheapest out there. Definitely the ones I did last week, the Crayola, were $4 for 24 pencils. They're, I think around $20, a little less than $20 for 120 pencils. And then the Shuttle Art are around between $20 to $30, depending if you get them on sale or not, but you get 180 pencils. So that was last week's. So I think I'll go ahead and use the Prismacolors first then, just so I can feel how the Arteza pencils feel after having used these and can give more of a honest opinion about how they compare. So yeah, as you can see, most of mine are small. The white Prismacolors, when you get, I'll put the caveat, when you get ones that are working well, that work well, the white Prismacolors are the best. Even the Caran d'Ache are pretty good too, but the white Prismacolors are really good. But last time I ordered a box of 12 white Prismacolors, and boy, the quality was low. They crumbled apart. They were not good, and I don't know what was going on with that. I know people have complained over the past several years that their quality has gone way down. So that's sad, because we're willing to pay that money for the white colored pencils on their own, but they've got to work. So anyway, so once again, like I did last time, as you can see, I picked out colors as similar as possible, although obviously not exactly the same. So we have those. And last time I managed to figure out how to make it to where the greens didn't turn the space black. But the colors are not quite exactly right to what I'm seeing them as, but it's close enough. It's good enough for rock and roll, whatever. So we will start like we did last time, and that's just putting in these yellow spots here. This is a somewhat darker yellow. Also, my pink office chair that I had not that long ago purchased has fallen apart and died on me. Of course, I also had to use it as a wheelchair for 2 weeks while my torn hamstring healed and I couldn't walk at all. So I tore it up having to use it like that because it was never designed to be rolled all over the house with a grown-ass person in it, you know, up and down the bump, in and out of the, you know, from the tile to tile, how it bumps up, you know. It was never meant to be treated like that, and I treated it roughly. So it is in a bad way. So now I need a new office chair. I'm in a little bitty office chair. So I'm kind of at a different angle than I'm normally at. Oh, I'm using a better paper this time. Last time I used just poster board that you can get, you know, at Dollar General for $1.25 for a couple of sheets, you know. This time I'm using a sort of a mid-grade paper. It's a mixed media paper. It was actually 18 by 24 and I cut it in half to do this presentation with. So you can still kind of see it. Tweaking the color to get rid of that that whole green problem kind of made it to where the colors aren't as vibrant. You're not seeing, definitely not what I'm seeing as far as vibrancy goes. So, yeah, last week when I did this, it was my birthday, and that was fun. I just basically did this. This is it. What else has happened? Oh, my bike broke down. That's got me in a sad way. My brakes broke, and my engine is not always engaging, neither when I pedal nor when I hit the throttle, either one sometimes. So I'm not sure what's happening with that, but so I've got to look into that. Now the brake cables are just, I guess, your standard bicycle, you know, brake cables, like would be found on any 10-speed bike with brakes or whatever. So just your standard brake cables. So no problem, I can get those. But the other problem, the engine engaging. Now, I mean, you know, I can ride a bicycle without the pedal assist, but not that bicycle. That thing weighs like almost 80 pounds. It's heavy. It's really hard to ride it on its own. Like if I was going to just be riding a bike, you know, and not an e-bike, I would get one that was a lot lighter frame than that. Because that's a lot. You know, when I have the pedal assist on, it's okay, but to just try and ride it is heavy. It's very hard for me to keep it. It's hard on my arms to keep it upright when I don't have the pedal assist on. So I could probably pedal it with my legs, but just trying to stay steady, it's very heavy for me. You know. So, anyways, back to this paper. This paper is a mid-grade paper. Like I said, it's a mixed media paper. When I do my professional pet portraits and stuff, I use a heavy mixed media paper. I use the Strathmore 500 series heavy mixed media paper, 11 by 14 size. I think that's the biggest size they make in that, although, boy, it would be nice to have something bigger, but that's the biggest, I think. I think that's the biggest they make. And it's fantastic. You can put so many layers of colored pencil down, And you can use odorless mineral spirits with it, and it doesn't tear the paper up. You know, you can use a burnishing tool like to indent the paper, and you've got a lot to work with to get dents in it. Like, there's just a whole lot of reasons to use that heavy mixed media paper. But this is I think Strathmore's 400 series, like the next one down. It's also a mixed media paper, so it's fairly thick. And it takes wet, like odorless mineral spirits, okay. It doesn't seem to have too much of a problem with it. I imagine it could probably take gouache and stuff too. You probably wouldn't want to do too much wet on it at once. It would probably buckle or whatever, but that heavy mixed media paper, you never have to worry about that. So I just had these little lime segments to fill in here. So I'll look forward to being able to do more than just this one layer, and you know, on this paper, as opposed to that poster board. While it's perfectly acceptable to work with, you almost have to do a different technique. You can't do a lot of layers. You have to basically get what you're going for with one layer of colored pencil, which is a little bit more challenging, especially with the less expensive colored pencils. You know, like I explained last time, they have the less expensive binder in them, which is harder, more solid than the more expensive binders are. Now this Prismacolor is, after last week, this is a joy. It's going down like butter. It's very, very smooth, and I'm enjoying this very much. It's just laying down very nice. But in case you wanted to join at home, oh, this is actually Spanish orange, but I'm using it as a yellow, I guess. Spanish orange, Prismacolor Premier. If you have Prismacolors at home and want to join in, I can tell you the names of the colors I use. But you know how when you look at a lime, the inside's not green and it's also not yellow. It's kind of got an orangey tint to it, an orangey green tint, if that makes any sense. Like, it's not like sunshine yellow or anything. So that's why I chose these colors. Of course, I'm also pushing the colors, making them a little bit more intense than they actually are in real life. Just taking artistic license with them. Continue around this perimeter here, doing these wedges, which last time I tried to draw these freehand and it was really bad. It was a terrible experience, and I'm never doing that again. There are just some things I just can't wrap my head around drawing, and segments of something like this are one of them. It's a good thing I'm not having to draw like wagon wheels or anything. I'd make myself crazy trying to draw those correctly. That's the kind of thing my uncle would have painted a lot of, and he did paint a lot of. He did a lot of sort of Wild West type paintings, you know, in the 70s, and sold them to like cafes and bars all over Texas. And they would frequently have things like, you know, covered wagons and stuff in them. And so that just reminds me of the kind of stuff I would always see him doing. He would have working on his easel. He did really large paintings too. My great-grandmother rather, my mom's mom was a painter, and she did really large canvases. And I'm talking, there was one, I don't know whatever happened to it, I was afraid to ask, but there was one that my great-grandmother did that was probably 9 feet across and 6 feet tall. And it was, I believe, Adam and Eve escaping from the Garden of Eden, you know, after everything went down, you know, and I think that's what the subject matter is, if I remember right from being a little kid and seeing it. But that painting is huge, and she did that one. And I used to have a painting she did right around the time, either while she was pregnant with or right after my grandmother was born, because it had the date 1921 on it, which was 100 years ago. And my grandmother was born in 1921. So So she either had an infant and was painting, which is less likely, or she was probably pregnant and painting, which is more likely because she still had time on her hands for the new baby. So the house my grandmother was born in is a lawyer's office in Wichita Falls, Texas. I'll have to go drive by it when I'm up there next. That's where my parents live, so I'll have to drive by there and check out the house. It's a beautiful house. My great-grandfather had it built. It was lovely craftsmanship. You know, it was built at the turn of the century, 1800s to 1900s, and the carpentry, the woodworking on it is just spectacularly beautiful. The beautiful staircase, that beautiful polished wood. It was a really dark, pretty color wood too. I don't know what kind it is. I'm not much into architecture, but I know that house was very beautiful. So I'm hoping to go up to Wichita Falls at some point before too long to visit my parents and to show Brad what that part of Texas looks like. He's never been up there, and I've got all kinds of familial ties to the Archer City, Wichita Falls, and then off towards Possum Kingdom Lake, and then also down towards Jacksboro and Jack County, and I have all kinds of roots there. And like my grandfather's name is on the World War II memorial at Archer City. So it's stuff, you know, it'd be neat to take a picture of it so I have it in case I don't get up there too much more. So once again, we're doing colored pencils, so it's just a matter of being patient and filling these areas in with this first one layer of colored pencil. But like I said, I'm barely even thinking about it as I'm doing it because these Prismacolors just go down so smooth. This is just so pleasant to work with. You know, I would definitely, if I had no budget and I was going to want to start doing colored pencils, I would definitely start with Crayola. You know, like I was saying last week, and you know, graduate up to the Shuttle Art, which are more expensive, but you get more pencils. I would do that, you know, but once you do, you know, get used to colored pencils and you want to expand, get you some Prismacolors as soon as you can. They're just so much fun to work with. Not everybody likes them because they are very soft. Some people don't like that super softness. Now, I have actually never used the Polychromos colored pencils. That's the next, you know, nice brand, expensive brand I would like to try is the Polychromos. They are an oil-based colored pencil, so they're harder than these. These are a wax base. The wax base is much softer than the oil-based. And when I say oil-based, I don't mean oily like, you know, like an oil slick, like oily. It's just the type of binder. It's actually, you know, harder than the wax. So, and I'd like to try those. I like the name anyways, Polychromos. And then there's also Derwent Lightfast, which, as the name implies, are lightfast. And they have a lot of colors that look interesting. I'd like to try them out and see what they're all about. I like their ink, what are they called? Not Inktastic, is that the watercolor pencils that are so they're watercolor pencils and they're very, 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 very pigmented. So I would like to check out their light fast colored pencils. But as for the ones I've tried so far, these and the Caran d'Ache. Now the Caran d'Ache took me a little while to get used to. To be honest, my very first impression of them was, yeah, I didn't really like them too much. I had to actually do a portrait of a person with them to appreciate how good the Caran d'Ache Luminance pencils are at blending. They're beautiful. They blend together fantastically. They're not as soft feeling as these Prismacolors are. They're a wax and oil combination, but they blend together very, very nicely. I don't know what that I don't know what that binder is, but I like it. There's my friend John. He doesn't know I'm live. He doesn't know I'm live, I bet. Oh well. So yeah, here's this first layer of yellow. I'm going to fill in some of these areas that have a little bit of gappiness to them. Thing about doing the lines is that there's a lot going on in a lot of pulp happening in these little segments, so they don't have to be perfectly smooth. It wouldn't look right if they were perfectly smooth. A little bit of bumpiness to them is a good thing. Not necessarily paper showing through, but a little bit of texture to them as far as pencil stroke goes is actually okay. And that's kind of why I chose this subject matter, is to kind of be able to not have to get so smooth with and precise with my blending, you know. Okay, so we've just about, I think, made a difference here. Let's see here. Okay. Last time I did the shadow first. I think I'll do the shadow next. I'm going to leave that right there. I've got to sharpen this pencil. That is another thing about the Prismacolors, is you do end up sharpening them frequently. Okay. Let's take on this shadow real quick. I used a 70% cool gray here in the Prismacolor set. Now this shadow I will want to be a little bit more filled in than the pulp needs to be. Like, I want it to be more smooth. The shadow is fairly smooth looking here. Forget I'm sitting much further down than I was in the pink chair. This is a much smaller chair than that one was. This one my mom gave me. It was in her sewing room. So yeah. Once again, the grays are one of my favorite part of the Prismacolor set. There's a range of warm grays, there's a range of cool grays, and there's also this interesting range of French grays. So, I mean, they're almost, to me they're almost warm as well. They're almost like brown grays. They're very interesting. Although at the lower range, like the 10%, it's, I guess, sort of neutral. Hey, Brad's saying, how do you feel this over there? That was a while ago. I missed it. I tried putting my phone on this side this time, seeing if that would work, but no. Oh, my. So I hope that somebody gets through to this clown Kirsten Cinema and this other clown Joe Manchin, because we're just asking for the people of this country are just asking to be helped a little bit. You know, we're like incredibly productive and incredibly hardworking. We work longer hours, more hours than a lot of, other countries that are comparable to ours do. I don't know about y'all, but I started working really young. I think I started babysitting, like making money to buy myself stuff, and instead of relying on my parents, when I was 12 years old, and I started babysitting. And then I moved up to where when I was 14, I had an actual job. Like, I was restricted in the amount of hours I could work, but this was in the 80s, and I don't think that the laws were quite as stringent as they are right now, but I worked, and I was on the books as working. It was when I first started having, taxes taken out or whatever. That was then. It was at 14. And, I worked for both of my parents and their businesses. And, I don't know anybody that isn't hardworking. I don't know anybody that hasn't worked hard, for at least most, if not all, of their adult lives. And, up until a few years ago, I worked full time, for many, many years. And, we have to wait till we're 70 to freaking retire now in this country. And all people are asking for is, hey, if you help us out a little bit, if you help us with childcare, if you help us with prescription drug prices, if you help us with some paid family leave, we'll produce for you. We'll work hard. We'll bust our butts. We'll get things done. We'll keep this economy going. But we just need a few things to make, to facilitate that. And we're not asking for a lot. They're not giving away the farm to the poor people of this country. We're just asking for basic things so that we can be the productive workers that capitalism requires us to be. How do you expect us to be that if we don't have these basic, simple things that people in other countries have? It's not like we're asking for health care just yet. We'll get there, but, we're just asking for things. The things we're asking for are things that'll make us better workers. Asking for childcare so that we can go to work. Asking for, kids to go into pre-K so they can start their little childhood education out, and get a leg up along with the other kids of more wealthy people. We're just asking for, how about a free community college so everybody that graduates from high school can then go on to, that next step and still on an even footing. And then where you take your higher education from there, for the moment, is up to you. But for 2 years of free community college, that's a great idea. There's no downside to it if you're an employer. And so I think they're kind of like, they're giving up the game. Like it's almost like they know that this is late stage capitalism and everything's going to come burning to the ground soon. So they're just being as greedy as they possibly can while they are able to. And that's just kind of what it feels like. And that's a damn shame. So that was this gray. I'm not done yet. I don't want to leave this paper showing through here. I'll get to that. But so that was the 70% cool gray. And now I'm going to go around the edge. It's called Mediterranean blue, which is a really nice shade of blue. It's a little tiny bit of gray in it to me, which, I don't know, it seems, I guess it's pretty. It's just a little bit of gray. It's got more gray in it than I realized. But that's okay. It's going to do exactly what I need it to do, which is just that outside of that shadow is not gray, it is blue. So yeah, and Kirsten Cinema was accepting checks from donors last night. And I don't know if y'all remember her when she was running back a couple of years ago, but she was really cool. She said all the right things. She was for $15 an hour minimum wage. She was for Medicare for all. She was, for lowering prescription drug prices for sure. She was for that. And here it is 3 years later, and now she's 100% bought and paid for. I wonder what shinies they dangled in front of her. I wonder, that ring she has that says fuck you, or has the finger, whatever. I think it says "fuck you" on it, or "fuck off" maybe is what the ring says. You know, they dangled shinies in front of her, and she's like a fucking little monkey, and she couldn't stand not to take some shinies from the nice men. I just get this, everybody's going to hate me and tell me I'm a terrible sexist, but I just get this image of her in her little freaking outfits that she wears, like the one she flounced and went, you know, when she said no to the $15 an hour minimum wage. Well, she's wearing outfits like that and sitting on the laps of donors and calling them daddy. That's what I'm picturing in my mind when I think of Kirsten Sinema. That's exactly what I'm thinking of, is that she's sitting in somebody's lap calling him daddy. And it's disgusting. Not that I have a problem with people doing that in general. It's just I have a problem with my politicians doing it. You know, if you're not a politician and you want to sit in a rich guy's lap and call him daddy, that's fine. But if you're a politician and you're doing it, I'm not so okay with it. It's pretty gross. So, and then Joe Manchin is just disgusting. Living on a yacht in DC. Give me a freaking break. How about you do something for the people that put you in office? Oh, wait, you can't because you make $500,000 a year on freaking coal. So why would you want to do anything about climate change? So sad. So gross. So I put down some of this blue here. And now right at the spot where the gray and the blue meet, I noticed that it was a little orange. And I did this in the last two that I did as well. So it's just a little bit of orange right here. Now, the shadow I will allow to have some grain of the paper showing through, which is usually like a cardinal sin for my art, but I don't feel like the shadow necessarily needs to be opaque with colored pencil to look right. Often it doesn't need to be opaque to look right. So I probably won't go in too much more on the shadow. Maybe just correct things I see that aren't quite right. And if I look on, you know, at the image online and say, oh, like in my phone or whatever, that it doesn't look right, then I can darken it up or whatever, but I'm not going to make them opaque, the shadowed areas. Okay, a little bit darker. Because I really went in there with that orange. As I say, I'm not going to make them too opaque, and I now have to go in much darker because I went in pretty heavy with that orange. That's okay, though. Oh, this orange also, this is vermilion, pale vermilion. So it's really a red, but it looks very orange. So far we've used Spanish orange, pale vermilion, Mediterranean blue, and 70% cool gray if you're using your Prismacolors at home. Definitely, if you're into adult coloring, I think I want to compare after I've used these Prismacolors. I want to see how the Arteza feel because they are cheaper. And if you're doing adult coloring, if you're not planning on doing artwork that you're going to sell or really plan to keep it around for a really long time, so you're not really as worried about the light fastness. I want to be able to see if I can say, hey, get the Arteza, or Arteza, whatever. They're really good. Or if I need to say, hey, just get the Prismacolors. It's the best bang for your buck. Like I said, I enjoy working with these Prismacolors so much. I'm enjoying this. And so, go back over the gray. I'll be pulling the gray back out again when I do the rind. Having done this twice now, I kind of have memorized where I put the colors. All right. No, I'm not satisfied with it not having the with it having the grain of the paper through. I was wrong. Just nix everything I just said a minute ago. I'm going to go in darker. I'm going in. I've decided that I don't want to be seeing paper. I want to see how my usual heavy-handed approach with the colored pencils works. I mean, sometimes I do many multiple layers, but sometimes I just go right in dark. If I know what I'm doing ahead of time, I can go in dark. If I'm unsure of myself, I tend to do layers. Especially if I'm drawing something for the first time, a fruit I've never drawn or whatever. Like I said, I've done these a few times here, but this is going on. There's a thickness to it that almost makes it like paint. I don't know if you can see how opaque I'm getting it there. It goes on so lovely and thick onto the paper. Like, I'm not pushing that hard. Harder than I was a minute ago, but not that hard. I'm not bearing down by any means. You know, I'm not turning my knuckles white or anything here. Just enough to put a nice thick layer of this pencil down on the mixed media paper. Oh yeah. This is going to have to be sharpened again. That's okay. We come to expect that with the Prismacolors. It'll be interesting to see how soft the Arteza, whatever, how soft they are in comparison to these guys. I have watched a lot of videos comparing the two, so I kind of know what other people have said, but I wanted to try it out for myself. Because obviously everybody's, you know, is going to have their own way of using colored pencils, and then how I do it's not necessarily how anybody else does, so it's the only way I can tell for sure on my own is to try them on my own. And I'm going to add another layer of gray in this mid area right here. Then I'm going to add some more orange, and then probably some more gray. So I'm going to layer this because I don't want it to be too orange and I don't want it to be too gray. So I'm going to work them both in and out until I get the right combination. So let's add some more. Or this, keep calling it orange. It's pale vermilion. If you could see it, you would, or you can see it, but it looks so much lighter in the monitor, my monitor, than it does in real life. It's a much more vibrant color than it's being shown. But like I said, that was from adjusting to where I wasn't going to have big patches of black where the green is. Okay. Now I'm going to do another layer of the gray on top of that. I'll probably go over this with blue too. Yeah. So I hope everybody is having a good week. It is midweek. I can't believe it's already almost October. I hope it doesn't get freezing cold again this year like it did last year. I don't want to deal with another snow event like that. That was horrible. Part of the reason I like living in Texas is because I don't have to deal with that weather. I am not prepared for Texas to become a winter weather state. Okay, I'm going to do a layer of this blue here. Let's see how this shadow turns out. You can see I'm holding the pencil pretty far down, so I am pushing fairly hard, but I'm still just doing a layer. I'm not pushing enough to make it opaque yet. And I want to go over this orange with this blue a little bit here, there. That's much better. I don't know if you can see, and it kind of tones it down a little bit. Which makes sense. Blue and orange are, you know, complementary colors, and kind of combined like that, they make a type of gray anyways, really. So kind of a brown gray, but it looks good mixed in like that. And with this cool gray, it just kind of adds that warm spot where they come to, where the two shades of the shadow come together. It's just a warm band right there. I wonder what property of the light it is that causes that to happen. I'm sure there's probably like a name for it, or like I was saying last time, that would be the reason I would want to go to art school. Is I'm not really looking at like getting an art career as like, you know, in a game studio or as a comic book artist or anything like that. So I wouldn't be wanting an art education for that. It would be for fine art. But it would really mainly be because I want to learn as much as I can about art and art things. And I really enjoy taking classes, and the 2 art classes I did take were amazing experiences, and I'd like to do that again. If they were to start allowing people to have 2 years of free community college, maybe I would just do that. Just go and take 2 years worth of art major classes. From what I understand, ACC has a really decent art department. That's Austin Community College. Of course, it would be really cool to get in, you know, like at UT or something, but I wouldn't. I mean, there would be no reason for me to spend tens of thousands of dollars to go to college if I'm not planning on having a career. That would be dumb. But just to take some classes at community college, heck yeah. Okay, so here we have our shadow. Excuse me. Goodness, that was awful. Okay, so shadow looks good. That's those Prismacolors, man. They're just so there. You can see the wax bloom. That is one thing with Prismacolors, is they have a wax bloom. Wax bloom would be that shine, that slight shine you see. Also, some of this needs to be darkened in, but that shine you see is a wax bloom. That's just the shininess of the binder peeking through. You can sometimes you can get a slight bit of a white film. Black Prismacolors tend to do that. Just take a facial tissue, like a Kleenex or a piece of toilet paper or something, and without putting any pressure, just by letting the tissue glide across the surface, you can take that, in small circles, you can take that wax bloom right off and not mess up the drawing. So that's always a way to handle that. So now, as I recall, the most of the darker area was up here. Once again, this is that pale vermilion. Won't be long, it'll be Halloween season. That happens a month and a week after my birthday. I always felt like my birthday kicked off the start of like the holiday season. So it was my birthday, and then there was Halloween, and then there's Thanksgiving, and then there's Christmas, and they all kind of happened in succession. And I would always look forward to that. So my birthday would be like, woohoo! It's time to get festive for the whole rest of the year. So you can see how nice this goes down on top of the yellow. It's not like scraping up the yellow underneath or anything, which can happen when you're using less expensive colored pencils with the hard binder in them. This is just going one on top of the other, quite lovely. Excuse the top of my head. Like I said, I'm so not used to this low chair here. I tried to put my camera up a little bit higher, but it's quite precariously perched above me. And this one over here has got a cord with a short in it, so if I bump my leg against it and it goes out, all of a sudden that's because of the short. Here we go. So yeah, basically I'm just kind of shading in where the light and the shadows are on this lime here. You can see from the photograph where there's some area that's darker. Like I said, I'm kind of pushing that value, making it a little more orangey. There'll be more green in it as well as I go on. I add a little green too. But first I want the orange and the yellow to kind of combine. Just a little bit on this side, not much. Yeah, these Prismacolors play nice on one on top of the other. They're a lovely experience. I'll start getting darker around on here. Start here. Start here. A little bit darker here. Okay. So I'm doing little tiny circular motions to kind of give it like the illusion of texture, like the pulp inside the lime. You know how it has little, almost like little sacks of juice. You know, that's what the pulp is, and that's kind of what I'm hoping the circular motions kind of mimic. Is that kind of texture. This one get a little darker here. A little darker here. Okay. Now, also in there's a little bit of green. Oh, this is Kelly green. Just add a little bit of green texture into the pulp here. Just a little bit. I'm going to also be going back over it again with the yellow. Or I guess it's technically Spanish orange. I will be doing that too. But not until I get these guys. That will just be hints of green once the yellow goes over, the Spanish orange goes over it again. So yeah, I can't wait to get a bike cable and get my bike fixed. I already missed my bike so much. I really looked forward to riding it every day. I didn't mind having to go places. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Okay. Yeah. Okay. This is much more color than either of the two brands I used last week. Obviously, I would hope so for so much more money, but it's definitely a noticeable because I'm barely putting any pressure down on this at all, and I'm getting plenty of pigment left behind on the paper. And I'm really just barely touching it to the surface. Okay. So that looks pretty good there. Let's go over this again with some of this yellow. I may bear down harder after I see how this one layer here looks. Well, I also intend to use the white Prismacolor to show you how that works. There's not much left of this white, but it should work enough to get me through this drawing. I should have queued up some music to play while I was drawing here. I've got a couple of I've got a couple of friends' bands that I have permission to play while I'm live streaming stuff. Like certainly Amy wouldn't mind if I played One Good Long. I bet you. That might scare people off, but still, it would be music I could be listening to. You know.
I like her music.
Yeah, me too. And of course, there's always Cat Scientist. There's Hug, but that would scare people off. And that's got language that I don't think YouTube would approve of.
Some people would have bad imagery.
Yeah. This is such a luscious shade of yellow orange. It's it looks juicy. It's vibrant. It looks like it should be in the flesh of, you know, a mango or something. It's very pleasant to look at. There was once a time when I could not stand the color yellow. I don't know what it was. I was a little kid. I did not like the color yellow at all. I didn't want any of my clothes to be yellow. I didn't want any of my stuff to be yellow. I don't know what it was. I did not like the color yellow at all. And I grew out of that eventually. Thank goodness, because you shouldn't feel that many feels about a color. But I really was not having any yellow. Never figured out what that was all about. I like it just fine now. I am trying to work a little bit quickly because, I mean, I figure one of these is going to take about an hour and 15 minutes, but for each one, so I'm trying to work quick. But this shows you it's like to do colored pencils. If you decide colored pencil is what you want to try, be prepared to be patient, because it takes a long time to do a complete colored pencil drawing. With any strength of color. I mean, obviously you can always sketch with colored pencils and just use them as colored sketching materials, whatever. But to use them as their own medium to do fully realized drawings with them, it takes patience. Unless you're just doing a very, like, what do they call it, painterly approach, which I think is funny to say about colored pencils. There's nothing painterly about a colored pencil. But I guess sketchy would be the only other comparison I could think of. Like the way Professor Lou from Art Prof approaches colored pencils is very different. It's a very sketchy, loose. She's very free with it. She doesn't seem like she seems very comfortable, very loose and free. Whereas I'm like intense with mine. But we're also going for very different looks. Like I said, you know, she's doing the painterly thing, the loose, sketchy thing, and I'm doing the more, I don't know, using them as their own style of medium. I do enjoy the sound that the pencil makes as it rubs across the paper. I find it soothing. I can sit here by myself. Brad doesn't like the silence so much, but I can sit here by myself for hours and just listen to the pencil gliding across the paper, and I'm perfectly content. It's just a comforting sound. To me, anyways. So yeah, I turn the page a lot as I go, especially doing something circular like this. And since I've already, put down where the shadows are, basically, I just have to color in now. So I don't have to, having it not be right side up isn't a problem. I don't have to worry about it so much. I'm going to have to sharpen this soon. For some things, you want to keep your colored pencils super sharp. For other things, it's okay if they get dull while you're working with them. Like this is, I'm just coloring in these wedge areas. It isn't necessary that they be sharp. This is just not necessary. Now, if I'm doing any other kind of details, or if I'm trying to get a whole bunch of layers, then I want sharper pencils, so I make smaller circular motions and have a sharper pencil and lay down less pigment at a time when I'm doing multiple layers. And that technique really works well with the luminance pencils. You want to keep them sharp. But a lot of times with the Prismacolor, letting them get a little dull is not a bad thing. Now, one thing to look out for now, if you want to learn how to do regular colored pencil art, like not regular, what am I saying? Like the kind of style that I do, like where you use a lot of layers of colored pencil and you're you're building up depth and everything, as opposed to just making it kind of like like using it as drawing materials. Um, you want to think about how much pigment you're laying down on the paper at a time. Like you want to be aware of like how much can you add to get a good gradient or to get a smooth look. Uh-oh. Somebody's sending me messages, text messages. It's my friend Carolyn. Hello, Carolyn. She'd never watched the show. She'd never turn on to hear. She hates YouTube. At some point in time, she did something to the volume on one of her YouTube videos she was watching, and she's never been able to fix it because she's a boomer with the YouTube. A boomer with the YouTuber. Oh. It always throws me off when somebody messages me or something while I'm in the middle of doing this. Are you still watching, Brad, or did you turn your phone off?
Well, I looked up that email.
Oh, gotcha. So they got back to you?
Yes.
Excellent. All right. Trying to get my bike fixed, so the company is in correspondence with us. All right, so there is another layer of this yellow. I did the same thing and just stopped talking again mid-sentence. Oh well. People are just going to have to get used to me. I forget what I'm saying half the time because I start concentrating on what I'm doing and then I forget what I'm talking about. Plus, all the smoking beforehand in Minecraft. All right. So now it's still grainy. I still want to get a little bit more of the yellow down, the Spanish orange down, but it's looking good so far. I look up into my monitor to see it. Like I also sometimes take pictures of what I'm drawing to see how well it's turning out. So let me sharpen this. Get a little bit more of this yellow down in some of these crevices here. Not going to add any more orange or green, I don't think, or pale vermilion and Kelly green. I'll be specific so you can follow along. Okay. Get these paper areas showing there. There she is again. I'll have to remember, if I don't forget, to try to remember to answer it after I get off my stream. But that won't be for a while because I still have this to finish and the next one to do. So... This is a very, very orangey yellow, but I think the other yellow that I had was too lemony, and I think once the green is down, it'll look right with the lime peel. Because if you look at limes, like I said, they're not really yellow, they're not really orange, they're kind of both yellowy, greeny, orange, kind of a combination. See, last time I wouldn't have been able to continue putting down layers like this on that cheap paper. The paper would have started to rip. And that paper, like, let's just be honest, that's not budget friendly. That's just cheap. It's cheap. It's not very great quality, but I mean, it works in a pinch. It definitely works to learn with, although you're not able to do all the techniques with it because it is so thin. Honestly, if you're going to start doing, even if you're going to use Crayola colored pencils, grab yourself some Strathmore, like regular 400 series mixed media paper. Use a little better paper. You can use better paper and not so great colored pencils. Heck, even getting the colored pencils from, Dollar General or something is going to work better on better paper than on crappy paper. So there we have. Looking lovely. Okay, now I'm going to leave that like that and start working on the peel part before I go in at the end with the... Oh, wait, first I'm going to add some of these guys. Kind of a little pulpy in here. It's got a little texture to it. You'll be able to see it when I hold it up to the camera once it's done. Okay. Let's go with the green. First of all, we want to do one green all the way around. This is a very dark green. See, I've run out of a lot of my Prismacolors because I use them so much. So I'm going to have to go over this green with this yellow, I think. Or maybe even a brighter yellow. No, that's cheating because I said I would only use these pencils. So this is going to have a very dark green peel. It'll look all right. I think once it's all together, it'll look fine. Yeah, October 1st, coming up. It means it's time to start looking at H-E-B for their Halloween decorations. They always have cute stuff at H-E-B. I'll tell you what, I missed H-E-B when I moved to Michigan for that little while. Oof, I really missed H-E-B. You forget how great of a store it is until you leave the state. And when you go shopping, you're like, this is not H-E-B. Kroger is not H-E-B for sure. That was an unpleasant experience. It almost looks blue. It doesn't look blue on with my eyes. by my eyes. It doesn't look blue to me. It's very green, very Kelly green. But like I said, having to adjust the colors to stop that green effect altered the colors a little. So make sure that it's green all the way up to the edge where the shadow is. Show it up really good. That looks good. Okay, I'm going to take it out a little bit further before I start blending it. I'm going to make this rind a little thicker here. I could go quite a bit ways out. And keep it the thickest right here. It would be nice to know that people would watch this and decide to draw along with me, even if they're watching it in the future from tonight, using the colors that I suggested here. That way you could see what it is I'm doing. And and kind of match it. I know that my patron Erin got out her Prismacolors and started doing some drawing after watching the one from last week. So that's pretty cool. So that would be great if you felt inspired to get out your own colored pencils. And this lime wedge or lime slice is a very simple thing to start with. I would recommend, 10 out of 10, would recommend to beginners. Try a lime. Okay. Oh, let's see here. Let's take it out a little ways. Then we'll start feathering it out here. And I will be able to do something I was not able to do last time with either of the brands I tried, which is to use the white colored pencil basically to burnish the whole thing. That did not work with either of the inexpensive brands I tried last week. The whites were just pretty much almost unusable. Too hard to do anything, not enough pigment on them in them to even make it look like there was anything going on. They were both bad. But Prismacolor, this Prismacolor white is the way it's done. When they're not defectively manufactured, I should say. I don't want it to all be exactly the same, even all the way around either. I want it to be, because nothing in nature is perfect, exactly perfect, perfectly symmetrical. You're not going to find a lime that's rind is not, in varying thicknesses going around. So it does not need to be perfect or even come close to perfect. It's one nice thing about drawing like plants or fruit is that you don't have to be exactly perfect with the source material, as long as it's, you're not going wildly off course. But I mean, you don't have to, if you do one petal on a flower, it's a little bit too big, it's not going to be as noticeable as if you do, one side of the mouth too big, on a person or whatever. You have more, like on fruits and vegetables and plants, you kind of have a little bit more wiggle room. You want to get it exactly right when you're doing a pet portrait, because people know their dogs like the back of their hands, or their cats. So you really got to make sure you get those right, those proportions. And when you're doing fruit, and vegetables, and plants, you can kind of fudge it a little bit more. Okay. This is where the next step will happen, is the white burnishing, which, like I said, I did not do last time. So this will be something new for you to see. This is how I do a lot of my work, burnishing with the white. So we're going to start in the center here. I'm going to go over all this with the white. I don't know why I'm getting these little specks. There we go. This white wants to crumble already. And you see I'm having to hold it very awkwardly in my hand because it's so tiny. But we're going to go over each one of these wedges. I may even have to go and get another white colored pencil for my bucket. There's really no point in going over the white part. It's not going to make it any whiter. But the wedges, definitely I want to go over. I'll start with them. That also tones that a little of the orange and the yellow down a little bit. So I use a little bit of pressure. Like I said, I'll probably have to go find another white colored pencil, white Prismacolor, because I am using pressure, and this doesn't have much left to be able to sharpen. But I'm pushing down and basically eliminating all the white grain of the paper from the yellow that was left with this white colored pencil, smushing all the pigment together, making it look smooth. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to go find another one of these. Really makes me sad that I spent 16 bucks on 12 of them and only about 2 of them worked well. Yeah, Prismacolor is very hit or miss. Apparently that didn't used to be the case, but it is definitely the case now. I find that their neon colors in their set of 150, they tend to be very kind of dry, not really blend very well. Let's see if I have a little bit of sharpening left in this one. A little bit. Yeah. It's going to be uncomfortable on my hand, but hey. Oof. Already it's breaking. Yeah, this is hard to use this tiny little colored pencil. It's not comfortable in my hand at all. Things I do for my art. Yeah, this is crumbling apart. And it's very uncomfortable in my hand. I can't wait to get this rind part, the wedges here done. This is not a comfortable feeling. I've got music from the movie Labyrinth stuck in my head today. I watched it just the other day, and now it's like, it's been stuck in my head for a while. Absolutely one of my favorite movies of all time. Supposedly they're making, what is it, like a prequel or something to it? I'm not sure how I feel about that. Wish they'd come up with new ideas instead of reworking old ones, but I I could watch it. I would watch it. So if I can get this pencil sharpened one more time and still manage to use it, I will. But if not, I'm going to have to switch to a new one. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wedges left here. Finish this nubbin. That's about it. As good as it's going to get. And then I'm going to have to go get another one. So I probably got one more wedge left here. Maybe 2. That's already crumbling. See, supposedly Prismacolors used to be manufactured in the United States, and they were all consistent quality, and they were good. They were also more expensive. But then they moved the manufacturing outside of the U.S. and dropped the price, and the quality suffered. Which is a shame. Oh, almost. Well, gosh, nobody's really watching, so I may just do one of these tonight and do the next one next time. I'm not gonna sit here and stream for 3 hours to nobody.
Well, that's not what you said. You said that, it's about doing it. You enjoy doing it.
Yeah, I just don't. I'm not feeling it tonight.
Yes, you do more and more, as they say, more and more people will find your content.
Yeah, I think I need to do it more often during the week, like more, more frequently, rather than more time at once. Okay, now I'm going to find another white colored pencil. Let's see here. Ah, that's not too bad. Sharpen it. Okay. We'll finish this Prismacolor one, and then we'll be done for today. Maybe I'll come back and do this again tomorrow.
That's a shame though about Prismacolor.
It is a shame because they're really like everybody's favorite. Well, people who do. Uh-oh. My monitor just went off. Oh, there it came back. People who use them the way I use them, Prismacolor is really good because they're just so buttery, soft, and creamy, and smushed together so nicely. They can be built upon each other. Same thing with the Luminance, though. They can really be built up, and but it's too bad that Prismacolor was the American-made ones. They were supposed to be the good American art supply, and then they stopped making them here, so that's sad. Part of that whole corporate exodus, taking all the jobs out of the United States and sending them other places.
Well, we have cheaper pencils.
Yeah, the pencils are cheaper, but they aren't quite as good. So I don't know, you end up almost spending more on them because they crumble apart. Yeah, this is one of those crumbly ones. I've already had to sharpen this. Yeah, see, this is just crumbling apart. So frustrating. So I still have to do the outside rim. And then I have to put on the white too, the white gel pen. That gives it that juicy look. Yeah, this is just crumbling into pieces. It's a darn shame. I want to get more white Prismacolors, but I don't know if I want to spend the money on them being like this. God, that's just a shame. One more. One more Charbang. In the middle there that didn't get done for sure. All right. A little bit more in the center here. That one. Definitely. Hmm. Now, yes, edges. No, I broke it. Now I gotta find another one.
It was the last one in the world.
That one. Excellent. Okay. Now we'll go around the edges. Put in some darker green and some divots as well, because there's some sort of a texture to the peel, as you know, with limes. Yeah. It's not as crumbly as the last one, but it's pretty crumbly. Such a shame. See the little pieces flying off. Just around. Right. Okay, now we'll do the green around the outside because that's where it's the darkest. Make it a little bumpy. Some little humps and bumps over here. Now see, unlike that white, this green is very smooth and velvety and not crumbly at all. And just goes on amazingly well. And you see there's not hardly as many, I mean there's tiny little crumbles, but there's not big chunks flying off the end of this pencil. If the white was just as good as this, it'd be perfect. And there was time when they were. Capitalism isn't going to ruin my art supplies. Can't stay out of my life. Okay, I'll go down here on the bottom. To so nicely this blends. It's quite pleasant. All right. Now, I'm going to sharpen the gray. So I'm going around the very outside with the gray, kind of blending it in a little bit. Really, it just makes that green look darker there at the edges. Doesn't necessarily look gray. Okay. Now I'm going to give it some. Just kind of giving it some divoted areas in the green, some texture. Okay. Now I'm going to go a little bit more orange in here on these top ones that are darker. Just a little tiny bit more. Because I did take out a lot with that white burnishing, but not a whole lot. Okay. All right. Now we take the white gel pen. May need something to write on here. There we go. Get the white gel pen to work right. This is where we put in the white gel pen to make it look juicy. These down here are the most juicy looking. Now where the light's hitting most is over here. The thing about these gel pens is that they collect a little bit of wax in their tips. You got to use them to write with on something else to get the wax out of the tip periodically. This one's working pretty good though. Certainly working better, I think, than it did with the other two pencils I did last week. As you can see, it's giving it that juicy, reflective look. almost have this done. Alright. And the last bit of juicy pulp. And there we have today's lime. Looking fantastic.
Very nice.
Like I said, the green's a lot more green in my real eyes than in the monitor. So there we have it. So that is tonight. So that took an hour and 41 minutes to do. So this is not a fast thing to do. So that's the Prismacolor. Next time I'll do the Arteza. And so now we have our Crayola. We have our Shuttle Art. We have our Prismacolor. Next time I stream, we'll do the Arteza, and that'll be it. That'll be our comparisons. So for now, I hope everybody has a nice night. Take care. Enjoy this. Get out your colored pencils, and if you're on my Facebook, go over to Facebook and show me what you've drawn. Anyways, take care. Bye-bye.